Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Diski Den once again. We got the boys here to talk everything football, to talk about the game we love, and to argue, really, because there's going to be interesting topics today. There will be a lot of local flavor too, since it's international break. We'll be looking at very specific topics instead of just results and fixtures to come. So I hope you guys enjoy today. Today we're joined by, well, me, first of all, the host, Hudson. We also joined by Pino, with the Brazilian guy. Yeah, man, that's a tough team, I must say. Firmino scored 2 goals, by the way, wearing not that top, but wearing a top like that. We've got Dominic. We've got Dominic, Fast and the Furious guy, joining us for the second week, and we've got a special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself, man?
How's it, everyone? My name is Solomzi, but you guys can just call me Soso. Yeah, man. Love of football, love of Sundowns Football Club, and yeah, man, I just love everything sports, but generally football is my first love.
Okay. You see, there's 2 Man United guys and there's a Liverpool guy too, so we're also international. So you must have a team out there. You must have a team out there. Chelsea, beautiful.
Definitely Chelsea, yeah.
Finally something different, Jess. Finally something different.
There goes the neighborhood.
I love it. You see, I'm not going to be bullied now. I'm not going to be bullied by the Manchester guys now. Anyway, Jans.
Oh, you're also a Chelsea supporter.
Me? Nah, Liverpool.
Yeah.
The champions.
Oh, aware.
I'm a Liverpool guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Not anything but Man United.
After the 30-year drought.
Okay, let's start. Let's start.
Man United banters, welcome.
We're not going there
Man
this
United
week.
Banters, welcome.
We're not going there this week. I'm sure there was enough banter for the last video. There was more than enough banter. Anyway, Jess, I guess we should just start off with the first topic. Steve Komphela and a bunch of other coaches, I have to check it out, have been hired for the Sundowns game. The Sundowns team. Sundowns decided to go for a guy with experience, a guy with talent, a great football player, to be fair. Once was a player of the season, defender, decent coach. I don't want to say good. His record's a little sketchy. Managed Maritzburg, Golden Arrows, Kaizer Chiefs. Longest stint in Kaizer Chiefs. So I guess that's
Manning Rangers.
Yeah. But I'm feeling we should maybe judge him at his longest stint, because Golden Arrows was like 60 days, like. So I guess that's what we should judge him. So just the question is, what do you guys feel about this appointment? Do you think it's the right appointment after Beto, or do you think Sundowns kind of maybe rushed it, went for someone popular, yes, but not that experienced enough for Sundowns? What do you guys think? Pino, we'll start with you.
Well, for starters, I'm not too sure how it's going to work. Having 3, basically head coaches at the helm, I think there'll be a lot of ego checking in order for one person to obviously be the outright leader. I hope that gents can manage that. In terms of Komphela individually, I am a Chiefs supporter, and I had a bit of an up-close look at him and the work that he did at Chiefs. And the bra had technically 3 full seasons and about 2 transfer windows at Chiefs, and he didn't really get much done. The first season I wrote it off because of the amount of players he bought and them having to gel. But once he had built his own squad, Chiefs weren't really as menacing as they were in the past. We didn't really challenge for much. So from my direct experience with Steve, as much as he was a good player and a decent coach, his teams are usually hard to beat. I'm struggling to see how it's going to work in terms of the personalities, who's the out-and-out leader of the team, and is Steve actually adding a lot in terms of style of play and any technical advice he might have for the gents?
Dominic, what do you think?
Yeah. I think it's pretty disgusting. I don't want to lie. Quite a shit. Yeah, quite a. I don't want to lie. You put in 3 coaches there. They tried. South Africa tried this shit thing once upon a time, where they put 3 coaches because we were sliding down the rankings, and it didn't do much help. As the Bucho said, 3 coaches with 3 different ideas, egos busy. There needs to be one guy in charge and assistants. And then you put the head coach as the assistants with 2 guys in front there that don't have much experience. The other guy had a stint at Pirates, flopped, stepping into Pizzo's shoes with all that pressure. I just think it's a recipe for disaster. I think they panicked into getting this formula done. I don't think maybe they expected Pizzo to leave so abruptly. And this is just panic. You can see it's panic because if they thought this through, Steve was going to be number 1, and then they were going to get assistance. But now they can't reverse the muffin. So, yeah. I'm a Sundowns supporter, and it's looking bad. Whenever we saw it with Man United, when Ferguson left, it's hard to fill a heavy guy's role. So I'm scared.
Yeah, man. I mean, they decided to do like a Dragon Ball Z fusion, a 3-man fusion, thinking it's going to produce, you know what I mean? It's a very funny thing they did there. Soso, man. Tell us what you think, bro. Tell us what you think.
Okay, firstly, I just want to add, I like the fact that they're keeping it local. They didn't hire a guy from overseas. That's the only positive that I see from it. But in terms of credentials, like individually, I'm gonna single them out individually. In terms of credentials, they don't have a very good record. Like their coaching record is not very good. They make teams win, but they're not winning coaches, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then also in the sense that their styles, I think Manqoba managed Golden Arrows a few years back.
Yeah.
Before he went back to Sundowns to be an assistant.
Yeah.
Like Manqoba, like for me, I don't really know his credentials. Rhulani is like a flip-flopper.
Yeah.
In the sense that he was a Pirates guy, and then he was bashing Sundowns when he left us for Pirates, and he was bashing Sundowns. And then he came back when the going got tough. So his credentials as well, I don't know anything about him. As for Steve, wow, Steve, I think Steve managed Chiefs, Celtics, Golden Arrows in the space of like a year or 18 months or something like that. So really, like, no one there is like a winner, winner. They can maintain the team, but I don't think they can live up to the mantle of Pizzo because the shoes are too big to fill. I could be wrong. Maybe I could be wrong, but then like I really don't see us going. And also it's gonna be like a clash of egos as well, because I don't know, from what I see, I don't think they will all agree on one thing. Like it's gonna be a situation where whose 11 is gonna be anyway every game week. Like how are they gonna pick the starting 11? And it feels like something that you could pull it off if it was varsity football, but a professional soccer team, no, like it's very risky. It's very risky. And me as a Sundowns supporter, I'm also quite worried. Like I'm not looking forward to this season. I feel like we're basically giving the league to Chiefs, seeing that they hired such a good manager in Gavin Hunt and all of that. Like this is Chiefs' best opportunity to be on the top of South African football. So yeah.
So
that's what we said last season. And look where that goes.
So I have to then ask because that's a good point. That's a very good point. So I have to then ask, with these appointments, and I hate to put you guys on the spot this early, with these appointments, where do you think Sundowns is finishing? Do you think they're getting another one? Think they're winning the Premiership again? Or do you think they're going to need time to adjust? Or do you think it's going to fall apart? I don't want you guys to give me predictions because that's very hard right now. I don't want you to give me a 1 or number 2, number 3. But I'm going to put these 3 scenarios, right? Are they going to be winners? Are they going to be adjusting? Or are they going to fall apart? So, Pino, let me ask you first.
Okay.
Oh, no, Soso, you can go. Soso, you can go.
They definitely...
Soso, you can go. You can jump.
Okay, so from my side, I think the best thing Sundowns is going to do is finish top 8. Like, I'm probably going to make top 8. But winning the league, probably not going to happen. Like, the thing is, it's going to be shaky. Like, it's going to be shaky because if you think about it, there are 2 teams that bought their status in the league already. Those teams were never going to make into the league if they didn't buy their status for one. So I think we're going to be competing probably for top 8, probably finish like 4th or 5th. Worst case scenario, 8th. But yeah, I have no hope for them lifting a trophy this season. Honestly, I have no hope.
8th, guy. 8th. Pino.
That's me entering.
Yeah, you're entering. Pino, let me know what you think.
I think there's definitely a lot of adjusting that needs to be done. As much as they've lost a big contributing factor to their winning ways, which was the Sundowns still has a very, very good squad. They probably have 2 relatively good players in each position, and their subs are probably starting in most other clubs in the league. So they've got a strong squad, but I honestly don't see them winning. I'd find it miraculous for them to win the league this year. A couple of cups, maybe, because anything can happen in a cup competition. So they do have some hope there. But in terms of the league, it might be a bit of a stretch, bearing in mind that I don't think anybody within the club has ever worked with 3 managers at one go. So it will really need a lot of adjusting. I don't think they'll win the league. However, I do think they will be competitive just based on the quality of their squad.
All right. Wesley, are you here? Are you here, man?
Yeah.
Did you hear the question?
I'm here.
Did you hear the question? Well, the question was, right, you've got 3 options to predict the league for Sundowns. Option number 1 is they win. They're the winners. Once again, Sundowns on top. Option number 2 is that they take time to kind of put things together. You know what I mean? The coaches work together and something goes up. Option number 3 is that they fall apart. You get
I'm
that?
going option number 3. They fall apart. Yeah, and I heard fall apart, and I agree with that. Fall apart is the only thing that can happen with 3 coaches at the helm. 3 coaches doesn't make sense, bruh. 0 sense. All right. Option 3 for me. Fall apart and get a new guy that knows what he's doing.
All right, that's all right. Let's not go as far as to appoint a new manager now. Gents, we need to move on from this topic. Good luck to Steve Komphela and the Gents. I wish them all the best of luck. They're going into a very successful team. It's going to be tough. I don't think they're winning. The CAF. I think that's out the way. But I think the league. I think they can push that. I do. With that squad, with those resources, I think maybe they can make. But anyway, just we need to move on from Sundowns and go to the Nations League. Now,
I just want to ask one question, though. I just want to ask one question.
Yes.
The squad is solid. We know that, right? So my question is, who has authority? Like, amongst the 3 coaches, who has the final say, like the final pick on the game plan?
Steve.
And with all of that, those players are big players. Like, in terms of local football, they're like world-class players. So who are those players going to listen to? Are they going to listen to a Steve? who wasn't there? Are they going to listen to Manqoba, who was always there when people was winning? Or are they going to, who's going to make the final decision? I really want to know. And that's my biggest concern, because those players, obviously, the egos will definitely because they want a treble, they want a three-peat. So, of course, these guys, it's not going to be the same anymore, because at least people had that authority and he was alone. Now it's three guys, where the guy is an outsider technically, the other guy is technically a flipper, and then there's Manqoba, who was always there. So what's the gist? Like, how are they gonna manage all of that? That's my question. That's all I want to know. Like,
Pino, do you want to quickly answer that first?
Well, if it was me and I was making the decision, I would give the onus of the results and making sure everybody's in line and style of play to Manqoba. Because in terms of seniority, you would say he's the most up the hierarchy, because he was there all the time. Even though Rhulani was there, he left, which I think kind of put that second place podium to Manqoba when Peter was around. So I would give it to Mngqithi, because I think he's the senior guy of the three gents, and he's an experienced coach. And his Golden Arrows team wasn't that bad, hey? I know it was a small team, and sometimes it might be considered to be an easy job being a big fish in a small pond, but his teams were very good and they were competitive, and he's been there throughout this whole dynasty that Sundowns built. So I would give it to him. I would give him the bigger decisions.
Dominic.
Yeah. To be honest, I think Steve, just because these other guys, I just don't think they have the pedigree to manage such a big team. Sundowns is a big team with a lot of expectations, and Steve has coached in high pressure situations. He once was even at Bafana, I think. So yeah, I think Steve. But
Right.
I'm saying it sadly so, because I have no faith in him.
Hey man, he's your problem now. We had to deal with this guy for a long time. He's good for the press though. He's good for the press. He's good for the press. Let me tell you something. You guys will be must watch. You will be must watch. I tend to agree with Pino. I feel like the man who knows the team, the man who kind of knows the players, know how they work, needs to at least make the initial decisions, right? Kind of transition, because I think Komphela is going to end up being the alpha dog amongst the gents. You know what I mean? Eventually, he's going to want to be the alpha dog. But I think for the transition, I think Manqoba should kind of start things out. Anyway, gents, that is Sundowns. We're going to move on to Europe because another topic we have for today is the UEFA Nations League. That's the name, right? I hope I'm getting that right, because it's one of those competitions that I do not care about. It has a weird system. The smaller teams go against each other, and then the winner of the smaller team gets to, it's like no. Anyway, I guess people do think it to be something competitive, and I'm curious, Jensen, what you think about it. This has been going on for years, ever since the thing started, the discussion of whether the Nations League kind of improves the friendly kind of period within the season. Do you just believe that this competition creates more exciting games, creates a more exciting kind of atmosphere towards the international friendlies, and gives us at least something to do while we wait for the real football to start? We'll start with you, Pino. Let me know, is Nations League relevant or not? I mean, it is relevant technically, but as a spectacle, is it relevant?
I believe it is, and I actually like the format. I think the purpose of the Nations League initially was to get rid of this whole international friendly situation, which nobody really likes. I mean, nobody likes watching international teams playing in bland games with nothing on the line. So they've definitely achieved that part of it. The competitiveness also, I think, helps everybody involved, especially in qualifying. I mean, just think back 3 tournaments back, Euros. You'd find that there'd be an England and a Portugal and then a San Marino, Faroe Islands, Malta. You know, it was always easy to see who's going to qualify. And there wasn't really a lot of competitiveness within the qualifying for big tournaments in Europe. So I actually like what they did. They've given the smaller guys a better chance to get to the bigger tournaments, and it's increased the competitiveness amongst the international games, which I think is a good thing.
All right. Good points. Dominic?
For me, I would like to disagree. I think it should. I think it's equivalent to like the Carabao Cup, basically. It's pretty shit. It only gets nice at the end when there's the semis and it's 2 guys going at it that's a bit big and you're like France versus Spain or something. But who cares? It's not Euros. It's like if I'm an England supporter and if we won this cup, I wouldn't be happy. It's like what you're happy for. So I think it's pretty useless. Yes.
He would be very happy.
Euros,
he'd be very happy.
Okay, maybe just a little, but like it's a shit cup. I don't wanna lie. It's a shit cup. It's basically weaker than Euros. It's weaker than Euros. They need to make it a bit better. I don't know, for lads to qualify for it. Dress it up a bit more. I haven't even watched one game. I don't want to lie. It's like a friendly. I still put it in the bracket of friendlies. They just changed the name. So yeah.
Okay, Soso, I must say, I was subjected to watch Finland versus Bulgaria the other night. Those are the type of games you're talking about here. Do you believe that this competition is relevant or not?
Honestly, no. On my side, not relevant at all. Like when you watch it, to me, it just seems like international friendlies, but with a trophy. And the thing is, the teams that are in the lower divisions will never get a chance to compete for that trophy because they're in such a low division kind of thing. Like they're not going to play with the top teams, because I think the concept of the whole thing was to create it to make the Euro more competitive, the World Cup qualifiers more competitive. But from what I'm seeing, nothing's changed. Like it's in its second year now, and nothing's changed. Like those teams will still. There was a friendly between France and Ukraine last week where France beat Ukraine 7-1. I'm like, wow, wasn't this thing made to improve the quality of European football? So how are teams losing 7-1 still? Like things like that. Those things make no sense to me. And also, I don't know, man. It just feels like a friendlies with a trophy, like the relevance, and it's also. It still seems confused, like the organization behind it. It's very disorganized, because I remember it said, like, if the team finishes last in that group, it gets relegated and things like that. But now I'm seeing, but I don't see teams that got relegated. I just see the top teams in the different groups, something like that. When they're supposed to get relegated and promoted and things like that. So, yeah, for me, it adds no relevance. It's just a friendly with the trophy.
You know what happens? You know what happens? Can I say this quickly? You know what happens to teams that get relegated? They go to the lower. They go to the lower kind of how would you say coefficient groups of the lower teams, where they can get to the quarterfinal much easier, and then go back to facing the big teams that they were going to face in the first place.
I think which is what the purpose. Yeah, but that was the purpose of the whole implementation. It's number one, competitiveness, and to give the smaller guys a chance. Like you said, a smaller guy can go into a lower division and then get into the last 8. What hope does Malta have of getting to the last 8 under normal circumstances? I mean, they're probably going to get cut in Nations League, but just imagine under normal circumstances. They're not making it out that group. They're not making it out that group.
Okay, Jess. And hey, man, with all this, give the young guys a chance. The final was still Netherlands versus Portugal, and the semi was still England versus Netherlands, and it was still Portugal. I think Portugal was going against France. So
no, it was Switzerland.
Switzerland, yes, Switzerland.
So we're still dealing with the big teams. No matter what anyone wants to say about the little guys, we still end off of the big teams. But anyway, Jess, I mean, that's the Nations League. Is there anything anyone wants to add to this competition? Because let me see, for me personally, I made my point at the beginning. I think it's utterly irrelevant. It's just another friendly with it's a friendly with Pep My Ride makeover. That's what I see. You know, it's like an Audi Cup. It's like an Audi Cup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is that like for internationals. Yeah.
Anyway, like I asked. Yeah.
No. Make your point, bro. Make your point. It's cool.
No, I was gonna finish it off by actually saying, is there anything you guys want to add to this discussion?
Oh, okay.
Anything you guys want to end?
I forgot what I wanted to say. I actually forgot what I wanted to say. But yeah, hopefully it comes back some other time. But yeah, I actually forgot what I wanted to say.
Okay, anyone else? Move on from this thing. Moving on from this thing. Gents, we're moving on to a kind of interesting discussion we had all together. For those who don't know, we all in the WhatsApp group. We all keep in touch semi-regularly, and we have discussions. And sometimes we might decide to put a discussion in the WhatsApp group into the pod. So this is one of those times. There was an interesting discussion that came up in the group, and that was whether the idea of representing your, how would you say, parent team, for example, the French players from Africa, the French guys from the Spanish guys from different African nations. The discussion was whether there's, how would you say, whether it should be deemed wrong for a player of African descent to represent a European country based on obviously status and based on obviously a success, or should we condemn these gents for not being patriotical and not actually sticking with their motherlands? So basically, in a nutshell, is it wrong for players to represent other countries if they're originally from, let's say, a lesser country like the African countries? Let me just make my point so you guys can kind of understand where we're coming from here. I'm going to bring up the case of Zaha, English guy, right? Very talented player. Didn't really make it into the English national team. He was always touted, and then decided to represent his original nations, his original nation of the Ivory Coast, right? So that's an example of someone who kind of decides to represent his homeland. So the question is it right or is it okay for a player to represent a team that they're not originally from? And I'll start with you, Pino.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question, and
it was hard to even explain, man. It was hard to explain. It's so difficult.
To say it's right or wrong is very difficult. My perspective on the matter is I have an issue with someone who was born on the continent and then represents a European country. I've always had an issue with that. But as I've thought about it and just grown into the game of football, my perspective has slightly changed. in terms of, at the end of the day, these guys are footballers by profession. And you can only play football for so long. So I think when they're making these decisions, there's probably a lot of variables that we are not aware of that they need to think through, specifically because they are trying to feed themselves with football at the end of the day. It's their job. So it's not an easy decision. In terms of them choosing the European side, I have sympathy for the gents, because if you think about it, would any of those France internationals now of African descent be as good as they were if they stayed in their original, in the countries of their descent? Would they have been the same quality player without the development that they experienced in France, resources that were applied onto them to make them better players? Would they have had that in Africa? Probably not. But with that said, I love my country and I love my continent, and I would love to see guys from Africa play for African teams. But I think it's quite complex, specifically because some of the examples that have been in the media recently are of gents that are born in Europe, which I think makes it different, because we love our country because we were born here and we're from here. These guys were born in Spain and they were born in France. So surely they have some type of bond with the country where they feel the need to represent the country. So it's a very difficult decision. I have sympathy for the gents, and I think it's very difficult to say it's right or it's wrong, as much as I love my continent.
Okay. Interesting points. Let me move on to Dominic. What do you think?
For me, it's pretty simple. There is no problem. Doctors leave. What leaves. We don't complain. They're going for more money. So, Africa, there's no money. You want to leave for money. Now, we can't sit here and complain about people that are leaving for more money. You get what I'm saying? They're leaving for more money. Now, you want them to sit here and make us smile and watch TV. That's not fair. You get what I'm saying? We already come from a poor country. You don't know this guy's background, his family. That money, it can do more for his family and the shit place that he comes from with the money he gets from there. Rather he goes and invests with money like how E02 did and what's with making foundations. You get what I'm saying? It's pointless you stay in the shithole and then you just shit. Go get money and come back and give the skills back. But let's not cry when lads go and say, let him stay. Stay for what?
All right. Kind of expected that. Let's move on to Soso then. What do you think about this whole topic, man?
Okay, I want to start with what Pino said when he said we have to think about the development that they were under, like the football academy and all of that, and how it basically groomed them to who they were today. That's a very interesting point. But I feel with these players, like these specific players, like the players from France, your N'Golo Kantes, your Pogbas, your Mbappes, all of these guys, like for a footballer that is that talented, you are going to have it. I'll make an example. Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, Samuel Eto'o, Didier Drogba, Yaya Toure, those guys were under the development of their home nation's football, and they became world-class players regardless. They did the things. So I feel like if you are naturally born to be a footballer, you would have gotten it either way. If you were, whether you were from your native country of birth or anything like that. Because there's a player from back in the day, I don't know if you guys know him, Frederick Kanute. Frederick Kanute was a very good player, but he was brought up in France. Then he played for Mali. I feel even if he was brought up in Mali, under Mali's development, and he pushed like that, he probably would have been still the same player. Same goes for all those other French players that won the World Cup. That includes Zidane and Henry and all those other guys who won the first World Cup. So, yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that if you're born to be a footballer, you would have been a footballer, irregardless of where you come from or anything like that. And now I want to go back to Pedro's statement when he says it's for money. I understand to a certain degree it is for money. You want to look after your family because you are the go-to guy. You are like the hope. You are the glimmer of hope. So of course you're gonna want to make more money so that your family is taken care of. So I personally don't blame the guys for doing that. I wouldn't do it. Like, I respect the guys who decided to go back to their parent country as opposed to their adoptive country. I don't blame the other guys, you know, your Adanas, your Ansu Fatis. I don't blame them because it's what they're used to. Like, they probably see themselves like, I don't know, they want to win trophies. They want to be a successful player, not just on a club level, but on an international level. So if your adoptive countries like come through, you're gonna be like, oh, that's a big team. Let me go play for them, obviously, because there's a higher chance these guys are World Cup winners. And also like African CAF, the CAF Federation is all kinds of, like, it's a disaster, it's a catastrophe. Like, it's falling apart. It's been falling apart. Even if you look at the Champions League, that calendar, it clashes a lot with our local football as well. So it's just, it's chaos all over the show. So I don't blame them to a certain degree. I personally, if I was in a situation like that, let's say if I was South African and I was like the best player in France, and then I had a France citizenship and France hollered at me, I would go back to South Africa personally because of what I believe in and all of that. I want to make a difference and then give other kids, like be an inspiration to other kids, man. Like, you know how Drogba has probably inspired all of these guys. E02 has probably inspired all of these guys that, okay, yeah, actually playing for my home country is not such a bad thing. Because when E02 was playing for Cameroon, that was Cameroon's most successful era. Granted, they never won the World Cup, but they were dominating across Africa. Same thing with Nigeria and JJ Okochas, your Nwankwo Kanus, all these other guys. They were doing things when they played for their countries. So, yeah. And, like, the guys I respect is Aubameyang and KP Boateng. Those guys will forever have my respect because they said no when the adoptive countries said come through. So, yeah, I'm in between, bro. But I don't blame them at the same time because it's what you're used to. Because it's hard growing up from that place and then you go and play for another place where you don't really know their culture or anything. You just know that you are technically from there. Yeah. So of course, like I respect guys who actually still go back, but at the same time, I have no qualms against guys who pick the adoptive countries at the same time.
Yeah, man, those are very good points, Jens, and I have to agree with a lot of them. I would add this 2 cents though. I think also we have to look at, and listen, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just trying to put a span at the works here. I think we also have to look at the parents and the families of these gents. You know what I mean? It's like if I want to represent South Africa and I'm the highest gent, but my mother's like, nah, status-wise, you need to stay in France. I'm going to listen to my mother, especially if I'm one of these gents around 21, 22. I mean, we forget that these are like kids, technically. You know what I mean? These are, you know, you're not going to tell Ansu Fati to just, you know, he's 17. You know what I mean? He's 17. So if his family is guiding him towards Spain, you know, hey, man, it's a kid at the end of the day. So I sympathize with the players in that point of view. I think Aubameyang and someone like that, more of a late bloomer a little bit. And Saint Etienne, yeah, he was good, even at AC Milan. So he was old enough to make that decision. And I'd even say the same thing for Kevin Boateng. I mean, these gents, they peaked at the mid-20s, early 20s ages. So they had enough like real life experience to make a good decision, right? A wholesome decision. When you talk to these young gents that are fire, 21, 22, 18, these are kids, right? These are kids. So you're not just going to tell a low 17-year-old, go play for Cameroon. No, go play for Congo, especially the Congo guys. No, Congo in a great place. You know, I think we can all admit that. Telling a little 17-year-old to just go to Congo, Okay. Especially, these countries are difficult, man. These countries are difficult. So that I think that also plays a small part. That as much as, you have to be patriotic, a bunch of these countries are going through the most. And you're telling a little kid to go put themselves in the middle of that. A lot of political sway, especially football, especially when it's international football. It's like European footballers who represent their country. There's a lot of political situations that occur. You know what I mean? With even Drogba, with E02, there was a lot of political, Matip had a very traumatic situation when he went to go represent Cameroon, where they actually asked him to play for Cameroon. So, there's a lot of political stuff too that occurs. So I'm sympathetic to the Jets. I truly am. I thought about it. My initial thought was, come on, bro, represent your country. What's wrong with you? But when you think about it, and when I listen to you, Jess, I'm sympathetic to these youngsters, man. It's tough. It's a tough decision, especially when you grew up at Paris, bro, and you gotta go to DRC to play there. And you grew up with the Eiffel Tower in front of you. You grew up with the Louvre, and they're like, yo, every other month you need to go to the DRC. Like, hey, man, if you're a young kid, I don't think that's a nice trip.
I think another important thing or a point that I want to go back to is one that's also brought up, and is the fact that our football association is really bad. Let me just put it that way, which is the most polite way I can put it. And I believe if CAF and everybody in all the football associations in Africa actually put their heads together and try to give us a quality football product, it would make it much easier for these gents to want to come back home and represent us. So why would you want to come here, get cracked on your shin, play in long ass grass in tournaments that don't align with any major tournament? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, now you're gonna play Premier League. Imagine December time you're playing Premier League, one of the hardest periods or in football and in the hardest league. And then on top of that, January time you're going to Africa to go get destroyed, in difficult conditions. It's not appealing. And I don't blame the gents for making the decisions that they're making. CAF needs to improve, and they need to make it easier for the gents to come through. Don't just call the bra when he's a final product and he can now represent you, and all of a sudden you want to call the bra up. Nah, that's bull. They need to have some type of proactive contribution to these guys' careers, even if they're in Europe, to show that they really want the yes. But, that's difficult.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I think one more thing I would like to add to kind of counter everything. And this is not me flip-flopping. This is just to say to the gents that do leave, some of you gents out there in France, in Spain, in Belgium, y'all can change the game for your countries. Some of you gents can change the game for your countries. I actually believe that, sometimes, yes, you can say a team is weak, but you add one player, one element, one game changer. And there's been many European game changers from African descent that have played for a France team, jam-packed with game changers. So that's one thing I would like to add, kind of to counter. But I don't think that's even a strong enough counter, to be honest. Because saying represent your country because you're very good doesn't take away, like you said, the football associations, the state of the pitches, the state of the countries, the financial state of the football. Yeah, it's a lot to tell a youngster to go deal with that, man. It's a lot. And when you're a tough player, like Mohamed Salah, you made the example. Egypt, they lean on him. Everything depends on Salah. He got a hectic injury, shoulder injury in the UEFA final, but they needed him for that World Cup. You know what I mean? They needed him. He had to be ready. It's tough, man. It's tough dealing with all that. Anything you guys want to add? Just last minute thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, I just want to say, another reason why the Football Federation is in shambles is because there's a lot of segregation. Because if we're being honest, the rest of Africa does not like SA in anything. Like they've never.
That's true.
I'm thinking about the World Cup qualifiers for the 2018 World Cup when we were playing Senegal, and then we got like illegal penalty. Then we had to replay the game because you won that game.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Thinking that would have never happened if it was the other way around and Senegal got that illegal penalty.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of segregation, all of that. People are looking out for their own interests and all of that. And then that's another reason, right? Unlike in UEFA, even though deep down inside they probably don't like each other, but they're willing to keep the professionalism for the beauty of the game. With us, there's a lot of, like you mentioned, Abo, there's a lot of political agendas and all of that. Everyone wants a slice of the pie. They probably slashed so many funds that we don't see it. That's why you see the African Cup of Nations, like really, sometimes it's shady. It feels like you're watching something else. So yeah, like there's a lot of segregation within the CAF organization, all of it. So for as long as that, there's that, okay, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. Okay, let's oust SA, because I think the reason why they hate us as SA as a country, we think we're better than them or things like that, just because of the way
as well, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want to add, for as long as there's things like that, our federation is doomed for the long haul. Like in the long run, there's nothing that's gonna change, honestly.
Dominic, do you have any last words of this topic?
Nah. African football sucks. Basically, most of it. And look, it's sad because it's not just as you guys say, in the corruption. It's also lack of investment, and that speaks to a lot of other things. You know what I mean? Empty stadiums and all that stuff. It's not only the issues of, I mean, these European guys, they're hogging all the money, and if there's no investment, we have to balance it out. You know what I mean? They've got all the money. All the money is in Europe with soccer. Okay, yes, in Brazil, they also poor, but their soccer is a bit better. Their standard of football. So maybe we should just learn to follow the South American. Learn to follow the South American example a bit more. The competitiveness, the culture of football within that continent is pretty strong. So yeah, maybe we need to follow them a bit because they're doing it without a lot of investment.
And in tough conditions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Those Brazilian cassis are just as bad as South African cassis, if not worse.
Absolutely. Any last words, Makai?
No, I'm cool.
Sorry, bro.
Go ahead.
So go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was just going to add on to that whole Brazilian thing. I think Brazil, more than anything, they love their football. Like, they feel like their love for football overshadows their poverty, because Brazil is generally a very poor country, but they really, really, really love their football. Like, if you think about all of their best players, those guys come from the poorest of backgrounds, but they made it because they really love playing football. So, yeah, I think that's why we can't compare Brazil to us. Us, it's more, okay, if I'm a famous footballer, I'll make money, etc. To them, it's just the love of the game.
You know?
Hey, I just need Danny Jordan out the hot seat, hey? That guy's big. He's been the head of our football, and I don't see any type of development at all whatsoever. Usually in most occupations, if you're clearly failing, you lose your job. But I feel like the more this guy fails is the more he cements his job. And he's probably in one of the most powerful football positions on the continent. I mean, Bafana's got a lot of resources, and we've got a lot of potential in terms of being it's very difficult to say, but to be a dominating football association. We have the ability, but we're really not doing as much as we can, and that's killing our team. from player development to just how the league is run. I think it can be done. Danny Jordan out.
Okay, gents, that's a very weird way to end it. But I think we've covered enough, gents. I think we've covered enough. We've gone through the European Nations League nonsense and the Sundowns situation, and this was a nice kind of topic to talk about, man. I think the people watching enjoyed that. Anyway, now let us wrap up the show. Please subscribe to Diski Den. Please support us, support the local boys as we try to make our way up into the soccer medium. You know what I mean? We're still youngsters here. We're still doing our thing, but I think we know what we're talking about. So please support us. Please subscribe, like the video, and comment down there whether you think that the appointment of the coaches in Sundowns was a good one. Whether you like the Nations League or whether you think, players that go play for the adopted countries, are making the right decision. This has been Diski Den. I've been Hudson, Pino, Dominic, Soso. Thank you, guys. We'll put your handles, your info, your names on your videos, and everyone check out the social medias and everything. We'll check you guys later, man. Thanks for watching.